Welcome back, Shalligators. Your girl is married. Not me. No. One and done. Ariana Grande surprised us all when she got hitched to Dalton Gomez. Okay. This weekend, and they haven't been together that long. They apparently started dating early 2020, and I guess on paper, yeah, that's like a year and a half. Okay, it's not so insane, but you have to figure that a good 8-9 months of that relationship was in a quarantine, so that, the normal aspects of life really weren't at play. And how did that go for Demi Lovato, who got spat out into the world with her homeless, hairy, scrawny ex Max, whatever his name is, and watched everything implode? Is Ariana headed down that path? We're going to break it down. I'm going to tell you why maybe she's rushing to the altar. I've got a theory. And also, we're going to outline 3 different ways that you can stop rushing into relationships. Because I asked you guys on Instagram, and this was overwhelmingly the topic you wanted, how to stop rushing. And I feel like we especially need to talk about this now that the world's opening back up. Montana is officially maskless, everybody. I was maskless in Target, just living my life, rocking and rolling. Like vax or no vax, you get to take your fucking mask off. Thank you. So we are being also spat back out into the world, and we might be like, I need to get laid. We might be a little hesitant about relationships. We want to make sure that we're doing things the right way, the smart way, and moving at a pace that's healthy. So I'm also going to tell you how to identify if the pace is not healthy and what you can do to course correct and get the relationship back on a track and on a pace that's going to lead to the most amount of longevity. But before we get started, just want to remind you guys that we have added an extra week to our Shalligator getaway with Trend 45 to Tulum, Mexico. Now, the 3rd week sold out, so we've added another. They're doing 3 weeks. I'm coming for 2 of them now. So I'm also coming June 11th to 17th. You guys can hit the link down in the bio. It's going to be so much fun. So Trend 45 makes really amazing trips. They're an influencer travel company. They bring a bunch of photographers. We have a bunch of excursions. If you want to come and take pictures, great. If you just want to come and hang out with me, even better. If you want to do neither and just avoid me and sit in the corner, I understand, girl. It's your vacation. Whatever makes you happy. So go ahead and join that. We've got a few spots left. I think maybe 7. I think so. It's selling out fast. So I really hope to see you guys there. Okay, let's talk Ari. By the way, I'm in not my living room, it's my den. Cowboy's asleep in the studio where I film, one of the bedrooms, and it's his world. We're all just living in it. Never mind that the whole reason I do this job is to make him money to buy him $15 ham bones wrapped in prosciutto. I do this, but it buys me 4 hours of silence and peace. If you're a mom, you probably know what this is like. Even if you're just a dog mom, it's all kind of the same thing. It's what can I purchase to give myself back the life I had before I had this little creature I had to keep alive. Speaking of little creatures, Ariana. I don't think anyone kind of expected this. She's been super low pro about this relationship, which has been a great change from her rocket ship to fuckery with Pete Davidson. And one of you guys were like, how does she keep getting guys to propose to her? I'm like, well, she's rich. So that helps. That helps. That's not what we're going to talk about today. So it does seem like a strange turn of events, definitely out of nowhere. And apparently they got married in Montecito, which is on the California coast, kind of near Santa Barbara. Oprah lives there. Rob Lowe randomly has a $30 million mansion. I was like, who knew he was balling like that? Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live there. God, I can't think of worse neighbors, right? But yeah, they got married in a very intimate, ceremony in a home. There were less than 20 people there. And some of you guys were like, do you think it's a red flag if people elope? If they're doing it in secret, do you think that means they don't have a lot of confidence in it? Sometimes, but I think generally not. My friends who are married, they have run the gamut of people who have gone on to an island, just the 2 of them, got married on a beach, came back and have a party with the family, or not. They went down to City Hall, never celebrated it at all. And I see no correlation. Actually, yes, I do. The bigger the wedding, the worse the marriage. I do see that correlation, because I think when you get wrapped up in I'm a bride, I'm a fucking bride, it's my bride, bride shoes, bride squad, #bride. Are you wanting to get married to this person? You want to join this person in a commitment, whatever, or do you want to be a bride? Do you want to join bride squad and feel so special and so pretty? Bitch, go buy a white dress, get a cake. I buy myself cake all the time. And you know what? With every piece of cake I buy, I push any sort of second marriage off for another 6 months. So I eat a lot of cake. Get your makeup done. Throw yourself a party. Be a bride at your own birthday. You don't need to drag someone else into this. And you certainly don't need to drag the United States government into this and sign a contract with the fucking government. Marriage is like the most draconian, bizarre thing once I've gone through it, you guys know I've been married and unmarried. And it's like, why are we all making contracts with the government? A judge has to decide if you break up with someone? That's interesting. I don't remember a judge deciding if a guy off Tinder ghosted me. That's interesting. Where was my attorney when that guy came in 30 seconds? Where was the justice system then? So no, I don't see a correlation between like people who elope, hiding it. Actually, I do. When I think of my friends who've eloped, like they really do have the best marriages because they're very, very focused on them and they're not letting the outside influence them. Also, like family can be really tough. Obviously, Ariana probably has like a billion people that she knows, agents and the agents' wives and the publicists, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do I want to celebrate with these people? Do I want to spend my wedding day? Oh, hi, how are you? Thanks for coming. Oh, try the shrimp. A wedding, when you're a bride, it's not like you're special. You are like a politician. You are walking around gladding. Oh, hi, Uncle Jerry. Yes, Aunt Linda. Oh my God, don't look at local party, drink too much. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. So I definitely see why it would just be like small and intimate and your ride or dies and your family, or maybe not your family. I get that. But we cannot deny that Ariana does seem to rush in. Now, when we heard about this Dalton Gomez, I really hope this is the right person. I honestly don't know. I don't know. When we heard about him, it's like they're dating. And then it was like, I don't know what days or weeks later that she was engaged, in her typical oversized hoodie, like her paws. Like, honey, if that's still how you have to pose, I posed like that for photos when I was 13. You're not posing like an adult woman. Like her whole vibe has always been like sexy infant. And I'm just like, are you at that place to be a wife, a spouse, a life partner? Every decision I make, from whether we're having tacos or sushi to whether we live in Switzerland or Los Angeles, is going to get run through someone else. This is a trial by jury now. Like there is a committee that we have to check with. That's how you make a successful marriage. She's 25. Dalton Gomez is 25. Man, I don't know about y'all. When I was 25, I was selfish as fuck. I mean, I still am. But like, I was supposed to be selfish at 25. You are shaping your identity. You're figuring everything out. You're coming into your own. And you should be doing that. You should be following your nose, right? And like, oh man. You ever watch The Bachelor and these girls are like, I'm just so ready to find my person. I'm just like done. I'm so ready. And it's like, Lauren, you're 24 and a half. How done could you possibly be? Come on. We are all going to live to be, what, 95? I mean, depending on what the fuck's in that vaccine, we might live another 6 months. I'm not getting it. And you know what? Listen, this is a segue. I'm sorry. I have to speak on this. If you want to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. If it makes you feel good and happy, great, get it. Who cares? I don't care. Love it. I love a flu shot. I get the shingles vaccine, Tdap up on my tetanus. I love a vaccine. You know why? Because I love research. I love data. I talk about data all the time. Data points, scientific method. I talk about it all the time. I don't see that for the COVID vaccine. And I get why. It's not like I think people are being lazy. There is no long-term data about how this affects people. We are the data. We are the research. And I understand that the method with which the vaccine was made has been in development for a long time. It's kind of like they had these like blocks on the shelves and they're putting it together. I totally get that. But think about a car. We've known how to make a car for the last 100 years. It's very easy. Do you want to buy a car with no safety rating? Well, it's made all the other fucking cars. Why are you asking? Just get in it. And if you crash, okay, we'll log that as a data point. But if you don't, cool, everybody wins. Either you die and we get some information, or you don't and you're fine. God, stop fucking asking. This is the problem I have. We're not allowed to ask questions about this. We're not allowed to ask for who is legally liable if this thing goes wrong. Look at how long it took and how unsuccessful it was to litigate against big tobacco, which was also completely safe. Tobacco is literally poison. At That's like its entire function is to just poison you until you die, right? And even that was like very hard to get in front of a judge. And even then, like, well, what did anyone get out of that who died from cigarettes? Nothing. What are people getting out of Oxy and, trying to take down Oxy, which is also extremely safe? I'm not saying that it's not safe. It probably is. But I'm saying we are allowed to take a step back and be like, I'm going to decide for myself and I'm going to ask questions. And it's not that I need people to have a hard and fast answer. It's I need the space to be even allowed to ask and not hear, you're so fucking selfish. What are you, paranoid? Some weird tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist? Like my mother says those things to me. I mean, she doesn't swear. But she's like, so you're just going to put your health over society's health? And I'm like, yes, you have accidentally arrived at the exact right conclusion. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And I would love it if you could show me one animal on planet Earth that doesn't do that, that puts the lives of stranger animals, not like animals in its own family, that's one thing, stranger animals above itself, that animal wouldn't exist anymore. And again, I just think that there needs to be room to have a dialogue about something that's experimental, that we have no data about, and you're not the bad guy if you get it. You're not the bad guy if you don't get it. You are allowed to make decisions about your body. We talk about that here all the time, from consent and saying no, to abortion rights, to wearing high-waisted jeans. Even you know I don't think that they're flattering. But it's your right to wear them. That's fine. It really doesn't affect my life at all. And you can draw the conclusion, well, people, if they're not getting vaxxed, it's affecting everyone else. And it's like, I get that. That is a valid argument, But you have to also respect that people are allowed to decide for themselves. Even if you don't agree with it, even if you think they are so stupid. I think high-waisted jeans are stupid, And maybe I'll make the argument that they could hurt society just as much. I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, but I've talked about it on Instagram, and so many of you guys message me. You're like, I've been feeling this way and I've been scared to say anything because every time I say anything, like I'm the crazy one, like, oh, like I'm anti-science. And they're like, I'm not. I'm just literally trying to ask questions and getting like shot down and like really berated by people. I know none of you guys here are like anti-vaxxers, like polio, like give me a fuck. These mommy bloggers on Facebook being like, you don't need a measles vaccine. Kimberly, sit the fuck down. These people are trying to say they know better than long-term data, than decades and decades of data and studies. No one here is saying that. We're saying that there isn't that. And so therefore, are we not allowed to like have some reservations? I'm not saying I'll never get it, but I'm not getting it anytime soon. I live in a state that there's only 7 people per square mile. We are the 3rd lowest density state in the nation. We're okay. So what were we talking about? Dalton Gomez. That's right. Okay, Ariana. And how she rushes into things, right? Now, on one hand, she's 25, like we were saying, and being selfish and everything like that. And or she should be. Like, I can see on one side, it's like her marriage doesn't make sense to me because she's so young. It's like, what's the rush? That's what I was saying. We're all going to live to be like 1,000 years old. Like, do you really want to be with this person for like the next potentially 70 years? Oh my God. But she has been famous since she's been what, like 14, 15? I can see why this is the final frontier for her. I mean, most people don't start on their career and really get into the swing of it until they were twice as old as she was. So you add then 15 years onto that, maybe she is emotionally and experientially like a 40-year-old. She's like, I've been around the block. I've traveled. I've started companies. I've failed. I've been canceled. I've done videos. I've done it. Like, I'm ready for some stability. I'm ready for the known. I'm ready to take the step that most people my age wouldn't, but they're, work-wise 10, 15 years behind me, and that's okay, but I'm just at a different place. She gets to decide for herself. I love how this is the theme of things. So I get it, but she's not going to live less time than everyone. She's still going to live to be 95. So again, I'm like, oh, do you really want to like start the clock right now? Like, no, I'm just start the clock. So let's talk about rushing in, because there's the old saying, fools rush in, right? What is the inverse of foolishness? It's wisdom. Well, what is wisdom? It's like, when you meet someone wise, Santa Claus, Shallon Lester, Dr. Ish, he's great. Follow him on Instagram, he's the best. You're like, oh no, I know a wise person when I see it. Wisdom is making decisions based on data. Did you know that? It's making decisions based on first person knowledge and the additional wisdom of the crowd, right? It's like, okay, I've never flipped my car, but I understand the people who go 80 around a curve have, and therefore I am not going to do that, right? That is wise. Foolishness, impulsivity, lack of rational and critical thinking, denial of potential consequences, right? And when we look at one or the other in terms of this marriage, I look at the wisdom of the crowd. I looked at what you guys suggested because I'm like, maybe everyone's like really gang for this. And they're like, yay, good for her. And I think everyone is like, good for her. If she's happy, good for her. Great, whatever floats your boat. But I think we can look at the overall data points of rushing into a marriage with someone you have known less than 2 years, the majority of which were spent during the pandemic, also for which there is no data for how that creates or affects relationships in the long term, right? Lack of data all the way around. And what it means to partner with someone that early in your life. So let's talk about how to avoid rushing in. Because yeah, world's opening up. We're like, whoa, getting back out there. I'm on Tinder. I'm like a cat in a hot tin roof. I'm not though. I'm like really anxious about it. But it's whatever. So I want to start with a bit of knowledge from a social scientist that I ran across while I was doing research for this. And he's like, you know, he was like making, excuse me, he was making a case for rushing in. That's like, well, it's not fools. Like, and he said something like, if people seem prone to doing a certain thing, it's probably because we're designed to do it. Meaning like most people kind of want to rush in. You know, when you're in that like googly-eyed phase, it's sort of like that, what is it, Nicholas Sparks? Oh no, it's not Nicholas Sparks, but it's the quote from that movie about the kids in the hospital. And it's like, I fell in love the way I fell asleep, slowly at first and then all at once. And I think that's like such an amazing way to describe love, you know? But this scientist was saying, yeah, I mean, we're kind of hardwired to like go all in super fast. Now, we're hardwired to poop in our living room. I mean, why not? The dog does it. He seems to be having a great time. I personally am hardwired to eat Krispy Kreme donuts until I vomit. I am hardwired to ram someone's cart at Target because they're moving too slow through the line. That's what my instinct is telling me. And yet, I don't. I have eaten Krispy Kreme, so I've done it. I'll do it again if I can. I'll do it again. We are rational beings. We're not peacocks. We're not penguins. We're not earthworms. We have the ability to stop and pause and look at the consequences of our actions. Also, we fucking live longer than peacocks, penguins, and earthworms. And a lot of things that feel good in the moment are ultimately extremely self-destructive or simply not sustainable. We know this. And we have to also accept this with love. But we don't want to think that. We don't want to think that love can be measured in math and statistics and data points. No, it's just like there in the room, like mist, like a sex mist. It's all over my face. It's a sex mist. Okay, almost everything can be quantified and supplied and supported by data, but sure. But this is good though. This is good if we accept it. Like, okay, our behavior and what we're experiencing is not actually an outlier. It's the norm. But that's all right because we can work with this. So the number one thing, I'm going to outline 3 things to do to avoid rushing in. Set your boundaries. Don't we talk about boundaries a lot over here? Set your goddamn boundaries. Boundaries are very important. And when we talk about boundaries, whether we're talking about dealing with a toxic family member, a shitty coworker, a friend who uses you, whatever, what do we always say? The time to set your boundaries is not right in the middle of the battle. That's not when you build a fence, when the army's coming over. That's not when you're like, do we have any ammo in here? When you're under attack. That's not, no. You got to know what you're working with, where your fence line is, what's in your artillery way before, right? And it's tough because again, we kick into this thing of like, but it's love and love just like, love wins and it overwhelms. No, girl. I mean, for some people it does. And those people end up divorced, broke, heartbroken, used, whatever. We're not those people. We go into things logically. And that doesn't negate the magic of love. If anything, me being very like kind of clinical about dating and love, it makes it better because then when I do feel that magic, I know it's right. It's not this magic that's a code word for it's eroding me. I'm giving up too much of my time, my sexuality, my money, whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. If I feel this, I know that everything else is in place and this is a good thing. So I can actually just enjoy it. It's like a cheat meal when you've been eating really healthy. You're like, I can enjoy this. This is great. So set your boundaries, right? And the thing with boundaries, you have to have a reason. You have to have a reason. And whether these boundaries are small, I don't fuck on the first date, or they're large, I'm not giving up my career for anyone. I am living in Manhattan and I'm working at this science place, laboratory. And this is what I'm doing. Like my job is always going to come first. That's fine. I want you to write them down. I want you to write down at least 3 boundaries, at least 3. And next to those, I want you to have the reason why. Because if you don't have a reason, these boundaries are pretty malleable, right? Like I'm dating now and it's very tempting to like drink a bunch on a date. It's like you're vibing, you're connecting. It's like, should we get one more? Okay, oh my God, let's get one more. But then I'm a lightweight. I really can't drink more than 3 drinks. And then I'm like, bleh. And then I feel awful the next day. I don't get any work done. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I hate myself. I'm full of anxiety. So those are my reasons, you know? I will purposely build in something early in the morning the day after a Tinder date. So that's like, no, I have 2 drinks. That's it. I don't care how much fun we're having. It's better to cut the date short than have it go too long, you know, and then you run out of things and say it's weird. And I got to get up for horseback riding lessons. I got to get and take Cowboy to the ranch. I got to get up and do all these things. I got to get up and talk to some alligators, right? We need that reason. Because if we don't, like I said, it's very easy to have it erode. And if we have a reason for our boundaries, it's going to shine a spotlight on people who are trying to knock them down for their own nefarious gain. What do we say about boundaries? The people who hate your boundaries are the ones who benefit from you having none at all. So if a guy's like, come on, let's drink. Come on, let's stay on rip shots. You want some Coke? You're such a prude. You're such a brat. You'd be like, I'm a prude and a brat because I go to work in the morning? That's interesting. You must not do anything with your life. You're able to see that. If you don't, if you're like, I mean, yeah, I could stay out. I can stay out. I work for myself. If I don't want to work for a month, I don't have to. No one's going to be breathing down my neck. But I don't because I'm like, no, 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 no. This is coming from inside. This isn't because someone else is telling me to. This is a self-motivated boundary. I have it and I'm sticking to it. Number 2, you're not going to like this one. Wait to have sex. The same social psychologist or scientist or whatever he was who was like, we're hardwired to rush in, it's fine, was also like, it really doesn't matter when you have sex. Fucking man. I bet it doesn't matter to you, dude. You don't have something entering your body. Like, thank you. How astute of you. On one hand, sleeping with someone on the first date is not always catastrophic. I dated a guy for almost a year and we slept together on the first date. But looking back, is that what I would have wanted? Like, I mean, it's consensual, but if you can script your fairy tale, it's usually not that, right? I always say, sleeping with a dude is like committing suicide. You can always do it tomorrow. But once it's done, it's done. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And it's also just hard to round the bases. I love the makeout stage. Oh, the makeout on the couch dry humping stage. I love it. It's so fun. And I like to go really slow through those bases until you're just climbing the walls, waiting to go all the way with someone because the tension's built up and you're thinking about it. It's just, I think you bond better. It's great. Yeah, you can, there's a lot of people who sleep with their partner on the first date. It is not the catastrophic thing you think it is. But look, if a guy has been pushing for that, he's probably a leaver. He's probably a fuckboy. And you can play it however you want with a fuckboy. It's not going to make him into a stayer. It's not going to turn a hoe into a housewife. I was in this fiasco with a fuckboy. This is why I date younger dudes, because I was 27, he was 40, and he was the worst person I've ever met. I never slept with him. And we were on and off for almost a year. And I was holding out and doing all this stuff. Didn't change it. I should have just slept with him date number 2. Wouldn't have mattered. He was a leaver. That was always just what he was going to do. But I want you to wait to have sex. It's this wonderful Sex in the City and fantasy, the Samantha Jonesian fantasy that we can separate love and sex and I just like to fuck. Do you know who can do that probably better than anyone? Me. I'm real good at it. but not for long. It is how we are hardwired. I know. I'm not saying you can't overcome your hardwiring, but it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. We're hardwired to bond. And if you are talking to someone, sleeping with them, seeing them regularly, chances are you're going to catch feelings, or you're going to catch boredom in the ick. And you're going to be like, done with you, right? But if you're sleeping with someone like kind of consistently, it's natural you're probably going to want it to lead somewhere. Maybe not. But if that is the case, if you're like that, why are you watching a video about not rushing in? You don't do it. So maybe your problem's the opposite. Maybe you keep walls up. I don't know. But like this maybe doesn't even apply to you, okay? Err on the side of, again, we are not an outlier. We're the rule. We're the norm. We're not the exception. We're the rule. Most people, most women, sleep with people and get attached. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like as much as Sex in the City did for like us as women and being able to be a hoe, it set us not back, but like it gave us all this false idea that like we should be able to do that. Oh, you just like the people you sleep with? Yeah, man, I'm a loving, empathetic, bonding, nurturing woman. I'm a tender heart. And you probably are too. And that's fine. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. That's why I'm an amazing best friend, an awesome daughter, a great worker, Mama Shallon for you guys, right? Like, and you can't really just turn that off, at least not for very long. We go through phases in our life. It's a hoe phase, whatever. But if overall, this is not the scenario, that's fine. That's fine. So wait as long as you can, because once you start, the oxytocin goes, right? You bond, and then you become like sex blind, like lust blind, where you cannot tell if they're a shitty person. And even if you can, you're like, I don't know, I love them. Now I'm applying a word to this feeling. Just wait. Just wait. You can always do it. Do him tomorrow. And if he's a fuckboy and if he doesn't believe that you can do him tomorrow, it's like, no, it's tonight or never. Bitch, it's never. I got a lot of batteries at home. I don't need you. Next. This is a big one. And this is one I don't think we talk about a lot. Open up strategically. I want you to avoid monologuing. Monologuing. We're probably not like these people who I consider social terrorists, ones who just sit there and talk about themselves endlessly. Like they don't even come up for air. Like I know people like someone who works at Cowboys Daycare. Like I walk in and it's like he starts a conversation in the middle of a sentence and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's like, and I realized that we built that over there. And I'm like, did I give you any indication that I care? And I don't say that, but I'm just like, okay, please give me my dog and let me leave. Like it's one of the more stressful interactions of my day because I'm like, shut the fuck up, stop monologuing, right? People who tend to do this, it's shown they have rather low emotional intelligence, which is correlated with high impulsiveness, which what do we call that? Foolishness, which is the inverse of wisdom, right? And some people are just built like that dude, he's just built like that. But we can also avoid slipping into that pattern and tipping off that sort of domino chain reaction where we become impulsive and stupid and foolish and not wise. Avoid monologuing. What does this mean? Open up in context. In context. You ever meet someone and, okay, this is the example that always stands out to me. I was on a plane once, like in college, and this woman I was sitting next to, I am not a plane chit chatter. It is truly my worst nightmare being trapped next to someone who's talking to me and I can't avoid. Within 10 minutes, she told me she had had an abortion recently. Look, I think it's fantastic. Take hold of your life, take hold of your body. You do whatever you want, girl. Why are you telling me this? I'm like seated in like 4A, like what? It had no context. It was not appropriate. And it was part of just a monologue. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking at me. It was the worst 5 hours of my entire life. There was no context. And people do this. We do this in relationships when we're dating to like warp speed being seen and being known, right? Because if we're desperate, if we're dating for the wrong reasons, if our self-esteem isn't where it needs to be, if this guy's actually an emotional getaway car, we got to skip right to the end. Just love me. Let's go to the Chinese food and sweatpants stage right now. I see that sometimes in guys' Tinder profiles. Like, I hate dating. Let's just skip to like the lazy days and the couch part. I was like, no, Mr. Desperate. No. Like, They're trying to warp speed that because they're not looking for like me or you. They're looking for a person, a warm body to check this box, fill this role, wash his boxer shorts, whatever. It is not about the connection. And if we look at people who rush in, yeah, it's like, you don't even know them. Like, what? What are you basing this on? It's like, but I want to get married. Nah. People don't even really have that much self-awareness. But if we scratch the surface, that a lot of times is what it is. So bring things up in context. Don't sit there and give an info dump. Don't even do this via text. My friend Perry and I would talk about this when we were like younger and texting guys. Like, we both had the habit of a guy be like, what's up? They text like 2 or 3 words. Hey, what's up? We would write back, here's an entire compendium of my day. From the turkey I saw to what my boss said to my friend's bachelorette. And it's like, did he ask? No. He asked a vague thing. But not all of this. Open up bits and pieces. For one, that's going to give you those boundaries. 2, it's going to allow you to see his reciprocity in terms of opening up. If you're like, if he asks about your family and you bring up something that's really personal and heartfelt and he's like, cool. Well, that's not it's not an empathetic response. You got to know that, right? So instead of being like, bleh, here's my whole life story, here's every bad thing that's ever happened to me, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to kind of breadcrumb it, because then if things go south and they walk out of your life, honey, they don't take your whole life story and personality and identity with them. I mean, so much of the time, like when I'm sad about a relationship ending, or even just like, not even a relationship, it's like a situationship, a flirtationship ending. It's like, why did I tell them that? And I'm talking about like, why did I even tell them I'm a YouTuber? Why did I say that? I gotta just pretend I work at Starbucks or something, because I just don't need people knowing all this about me. It's too much. So be judicious. Also, the problem with monologuing is the tendency to invent ourselves. Even accidentally, we tend to like, we're obviously going to present the best possible version of ourselves. Well, I mean, not obviously. We're going to present a version of ourselves that for this other person is not based on data, it's based on what we're telling them. So we must always think like, okay, well, what sort of police sketch is this guy maybe getting about me? Does he think I'm like crazy and I'm going to get in a bar fight because I said I wanted to smash that waitress's fucking head in because she was late with my Michelob Ultra? Oh dear. Right? We got to be judicious about this. Also, when we are judicious about what we share, we can, just like we were saying about reciprocity, we can see guys who overshare themselves. Why do guys do this? This is a good thing, right? No. This is the classic fuckboy technique of oversharing, the information dump, the spew about their sick grandmother and their times with their dad, because they're trying to fuck you the first night. Wait a minute, why would they share that if they just want to fuck me? Because when they try to make a move and get you into the hot tub shirtless, you can't say, wait, we don't even know each other. Of course we know each other, Caitlin. I just told you all about my grandfather fighting in the war. It's like, oh, okay, well then let me tell you about something, or let me share with you in another way using my body. These are psychological tricks. We as humans are programmed, speaking of programming, into reciprocity. That's like why if you get hustled into a scam, a lot of times you get something free first, right? And then you feel like, well, okay, I have to attend the stupid timeshare video because they gave me a free dinner here at this resort, right? It's the oldest technique in the book. So beware of that. And if you're judicious about what you share, someone who is an overshare, either because they're that social terrorist who just monologues and has no social IQ, I want you to remember, chemistry is not compatibility, right? We can get sex blind, we can get lust blind. And love really is logistics. My friends I know who have a happy marriage, of course they love each other, but it's not 100% of the dynamic that creates a lasting relationship. Like, the devil is in the details. Can he be trusted to take out the trash and put a new trash can liner back in the can? Sometimes they can only do one, right? Is he good in a crowd? Is he going to remember your birthday, your mother's birthday? Is he going to share the parenting duties? There's a lot more than just like, goo, 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 goo. I just want to look at you forever. So set your boundaries. Wait to have sex. Open up strategically. If you can do just these 3 things, I mean, you are going to have so much more clarity. You will be able to log so much more data about this person, about your motivations, and about yourself in general and what you need and want than most people. And so, look, You're supposed to just kind of fall in love. That's why it's called falling. Falling is scary. It's embarrassing. It's frightening, right? It's dangerous. But we do it because this is how we have to live. No risk, no reward. And we do it because we know that should things go south, we have the grit and the fortitude and the tenacity to get back up and keep going. We don't throw ourselves down a cliff though. It's not called throwing yourself in love. It's called falling. So we're going to find that middle path between being vulnerable and opening up and letting things happen and wriggling around in the happiness of love, but being judicious, having our boundaries, having our own life and our own goals that we're not going to let someone else put us under just for the sake of having someone on our arm. We don't need that. Hopefully Ariana doesn't either. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. Lexi, you're like, can't wait for the divorce. No, Ariana's fairy tale divorce. Tell me if you think it's going to last. Tell me a timeline. Very interesting. We'll see. We'll see about this. I'll see you later, Shalligators. We'll be back tomorrow with a video about John Mulaney and Olivia Munn dating and how to date the nerd.